We have on the stage with us Dr. Shonda Bernardine from Florida A&M University. Dr. Bernardine has done some incredible workshops. So she's going to talk about those workshops. Uh, uh, 6 were planned, and she actually did more than that. Very impactful workshops. So thank you, Dr. Bernardine.
Thank you so much. Very excited to be here to talk a little bit about blockchain workshops on the go and what we've done here at Florida A&M University. So as soon as my slides come up, I can go ahead and get started. So again, I am Shonda Bernardine. I am an associate professor here at the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. I'm excited to present our work on blockchain workshops on the go for engineering and computer science. Next slide, please. I'll talk a little bit about some of the motivation for this project, these activities, give a project description and some of our goals, methodology and implementation, talk about some of the results that we've had, and then conclusions and future work. And then I'll talk a little bit about some of the shared resources that we have available if you're interested in using this information in your own classes. Next slide, please. So blockchain is really, we all know, it's what we've been learning about over the past couple of days. About it's really an emerging disruptive technology that's really transforming business operations and the way that we do transactions. And so it's clear, and we can see the value added proposition of blockchain in clear cases like business, banking, finance, marketing, economics, healthcare. One of the things that here at the College of Engineering, our students aren't necessarily exposed to is how blockchain is useful for what we teach and what we do. And so we just started thinking about ways to really engage our students in the blockchain ecosystem. And so what's the value added proposition for students matriculating in engineering and computer science? And so what we've come up with is in answers to these questions. How can we motivate more engineering and computer science to really engage in blockchain technologies? And how can we incorporate an awareness of knowledge about blockchain? Just to give you a little bit of context, the College of Engineering is actually separate from the main campus of FAMU. And so the main campus of FAMU coordinates a lot with business and coordinates a lot with computer science. And so they can get exposure to the blockchain activities that are on main campus, but really bringing that energy and bringing that space out to the College of Engineering is what we're trying to do here. So working and collaborating with computer science and engineering to stimulate that awareness of blockchain is the focus of these activities. Next slide, please. So our solution was to develop a mobile lab, blockchain workshops on the go. We were actually privileged and honored to work on a project last year that developed and created just one immersive workshop on blockchain. We got a lot of really positive feedback from that activity, and so we wanted to expand that. And so now let's create a workshop or workshops plural that we can take into the classroom and take into different academic settings. And so these are standalone workshops that faculty can incorporate into their courses, that officers and student organizations can incorporate into their general body meetings, that we can have technical workshops, faculty workshops, student workshops, to really just kind of stimulate this interest in blockchain. Our goal was to deliver at least 3 technical workshops. So I'll show you the different tracks that we've created. We wanted to, for this semester, this pilot program, to really measure the effectiveness of these activities on participant interest, their knowledge, and their career awareness of blockchain. And then we also wanted to provide resources for others who may want to incorporate some of our academic lesson planning and modules into their curriculum. So next slide, please. Our faculty leadership team and our project leadership team includes myself. So I am the lead PI on the project, as well as the project director. My esteemed colleague, Dr. Hung-Mei Chi, she's over in the Department of Computer Science. She's done a lot of fabulous work on blockchain and really incorporating it into some of the computer science courses. We have 2 awesome student leaders on the team as well. Ms. Miriam Tab, she's a PhD student over here in the Electrical and Computer Engineering Department. And Ms. Janae Elliston, she's in the Computer Science Department. So we feel like we bring a lot of strengths to the table, a lot of different strengths in engineering as well as computer science to really kind of lead this effort. So next slide, please. So our methodology really included just developing labs with differentiated levels of instruction. And so we generated these 3 tracks. We have a beginner level track, intermediate level track, and advanced level track. For the beginner level, really it's all about introducing concepts in blockchain to participants and just reinforcing those concepts through different activities. The idea with beginner level is that students come in with really no knowledge. They may have heard of blockchain, they may have heard of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, but really what does it all mean? How do you put it together? How do you make sense of it all? And so that beginner level kind of introduces participants to really understanding blockchain and then understanding cryptography, the concepts behind blockchain in more detail. At the intermediate level, we wanted to relate those concepts to practical applications. So start introducing things like smart contracts, transactional blockchain. And then at the advanced level, we really wanted to stimulate higher order thinking and how participants can really use their knowledge to apply blockchain technologies to what they're doing and to their research and to their activities. And then we also wanted to be able to provide participants with an opportunity to have supplemental activities. So once they finish the workshop, they could continue their knowledge and continue their understanding by performing these supplemental take-home activities, and that just gives them more practice in this area. And so the table kind of lists some of the different labs that have been developed. Our 2 students, Miriam and Janae, are 2 graduate students. They are lab developers, designers, and they're also workshop facilitators. And so for this pilot activity, for these pilot labs, they were the ones kind of facilitating the labs with myself and Dr. Chi kind of overseeing. Next slide, please. We also wanted to integrate a discussion of blockchain career awareness. Part of this, our motivation for this is we know just for students, salary, money is kind of a big motivator to learn concepts and to learn ideas. And so we wanted to make sure that students are aware, the kinds of career activities and career opportunities that are available by pursuing interest in blockchain. And so this is a definition of what a blockchain engineer is from the from ONET Online, or Occupational Information Network, generated by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. And so they talk about kinds of activities and tasks that blockchain engineers would be engaged in. And then looking at the different work titles and the annual average salary, you can see that they're well compensated for their knowledge, blockchain professionals. And so just kind of encouraging students, and this is an area that's very hot, very emerging, and you're really going to get practical experience by being a part of this. Next slide. And then, of course, integrating discussions on possible use cases in engineering and computer science applications. And so how can blockchain be used in electrical and computer engineering applications? How can it be used in computer science applications? What are some of the current use cases that are out there for these different areas? And so really exposing students to just, how they can apply blockchain technology in the different areas. So we talk a little bit about some of the collaborations between Intel and IBM, blockchain and Internet of Things, or IoT, blockchain in energy harvesting, smart grids, blockchain in intelligent vehicles, autonomous vehicles. So some of the research activities that engineering and computer science students are engaged in currently, thinking about how they can incorporate blockchain into those types of activities. We want to make sure that we kind of expose students to that as well. Next slide, please. So some of our implementation, so we implemented our labs in 4 different courses. We have Introduction to Artificial Intelligence. In parentheses, we have the number of participants in that particular lab. Cryptography, data communications and organizational networks, cybersecurity forensics. And then we are on track to incorporate a couple of more workshops before the end of the semester as well. So they were all well received. What we decided to do is have a blockchain workshop series. And so in the month of October, we offered 3 different workshops in the 3 different tracks. And students were able to just be exposed to the different track, beginner track, intermediate track, and advanced level track of the different areas of blockchain. In all, we had a total of 100+ participants in our different activities or different lab offerings. And so really excited about that. Next slide, please. Here's an example of some of the content that was created and that was delivered in a session. So we start off a session in terms of the format, about 20 to 30 minutes of a kind of a lecture talking about the importance of blockchain, talking about the concepts that are introduced in that particular activity. The majority of the time is spent in the interactive session where students would engage in a lab. These labs are self-paced, and so students can go at their own pace, although the facilitator is kind of pacing the class along at an average rate. One of the good things about these labs that are designed is that they don't require any additional installation on a student's laptop or desktop or computer. They're standalone, and so students don't have to install any additional software or dependencies in order to pursue the labs. We record the lessons, and so students can always go back and look at the recordings. The recordings are in such a way that it goes from the beginning of the class to the end of the class, and they can be used to stand alone. And then the interactive labs, again, they're self-paced, but students can go as fast as they want, or they can even go a little slower, and they can finish it on their own. So they're written in a way that they're informative and instructive. And then once students finish that, they can perform additional supplemental activities. We also ask participants to take a pre-survey and a post-survey to kind of gauge their gained knowledge after the workshop. And then you can see just a screenshot of some of the workshops that we held in October. Next slide, please. So these are some of the results that we collected. We really wanted to gauge our audience, and so the technical background of our participants. You can see the majority of them are from engineering, so 67%, and this is with all the activity, like an aggregated result. We have students from computer science, and we had other students as well, so we marketed it to the entire campus. And we had a couple of students from other majors like math, and we had a couple of business students as participants as well. So really excited about the collection and the demographics of the workshop participants. We also asked them about how they heard about the workshop, and so noticed that the majority heard about it from faculty, and then friends and classmates, and then university flyers. And so those were the various ways that we marketed the October workshop. And then prerequisite knowledge. And so we asked students, how much do you know about blockchain upon entering the workshop? And so notice that 44% had no knowledge of blockchain. They may have heard, the word blockchain or Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, but in terms of like what it really is, 44% had no knowledge. And then 44% had beginner level knowledge. And then we have some that had intermediate level knowledge. So that's some good background of participants. Next slide, please. So looking at the pre and post survey results, we wanted to gauge interest, knowledge, and really awareness in research and career opportunities. And so we asked students about that pre and post, and we really wanted to see gains on the post side. And so in terms of the level of interest, notice that in the beginning there was, pre-survey, about 40% of our students or participants were interested. After the workshop, 80% were interested. And they had a high level of interest in blockchain, and that's really what we wanted to see, that increase in the high level. In terms of the knowledge of blockchain, again, in looking at the post-survey results, 87% increased their knowledge in the blockchain area and blockchain experiences, which is a good thing. If you look at research and careers, notice that in pre-survey, there was a good 65% of the students that really had no interest and really no awareness of the different types of careers that are available in the blockchain ecosphere. And so after the workshop, 83%, so they have a high interest in pursuing research and careers in this area. And then several of the labs introduced Solidity. And so talking about programming experience, and notice after the workshop, 66% of the participants felt like their knowledge and experience with Solidity was on an intermediate level. And so that's good news as well. Next slide, please. And so we did identify several key performance indicators for program success. And so specifically total number of participants in the workshop. I mentioned that we had an immersive workshop last year. And so our goal really was to have at least 50% more than the previous blockchain event. And so that would have put our target at 90, and we had actually had 105 participants thus far. And so we've met that target. Total number of pilot workshops held. So we wanted at least 3, and we ended up hosting 8. And then the number of participants who were highly increased their knowledge or their interest in awareness in blockchain was at, our target was 80%, and we had 80% based on post-survey results. The percent of participants who highly increased their knowledge of blockchain was at 87%. And then the percent of participants who increased their interest in blockchain careers and research was at 83%. So we've met all of our KPIs for this particular event or project. So we're really pleased about that. Next slide, please. So our key takeaways: the program goals were achieved. The project was a success. This is a word cloud of some of the comments that were made from the participants. Some of the challenges, though, that we faced with implementing the blockchain workshops on the go, all of them are virtual. And so that's a good thing, but really having faculty buy-in to integrate, instruct these materials into their courses, especially on the engineering side. And so kind of getting more faculty buy-in, and again, these are like self-contained, self-paced type of activities. And so it could either, professors can introduce it as a lecture, a guest lecture, or they can introduce it as an activity, extra credit activity outside of class, just ways to really engage students in the blockchain arena. Marketing strategy. So, we marketed it, we talked, faculty members introduced the workshop to their students. We sent it out through flyers, and then friends and colleagues, also student colleagues, also word of mouth was a way that reached students. But even really rethinking or thinking about the marketing strategy, reaching out more to student organizations and perhaps getting them into their general body meetings and doing a session in those organizations would really reach or impact more students. And then this is a pilot workshop. So what we want to do is really train more workshop facilitators on hosting events in their own academic settings. And so our officers, our student organization officers, training them, getting them kind of pumped up and motivated about blockchain so they can host events as well, is one of the things that we really we think might work well. In terms of future work, connecting with blockchain vendors and supporters through this network, engaging interested students in blockchain research-oriented activities. This is something we want to pursue in the spring semester, and really encouraging those students who are interested to develop a blockchain student group or student club on campus to really cultivate that knowledge, cultivate that interest.